And if you want to understand Sargent, you've got to understand Zaloaga, because Zaloaga makes it more obvious. So it's like the form has a physical sense to it. It has a physicality. It is like clay or a wooden sculpture where you're carving. It is more like carving in space. A carving of a mass in space, either by line, charcoal, but you're there to make the form, not to copy the form in a flat sense. It is drawing, it is more an engagement with the physical world, but it doesn't have to be necessarily illusionistic. It has to do with the artist's mind, what the artist comprehends. So it's like Cézanne and a Matisse and a Picasso, they're not illusionistic, but you can tell that they came from that 19th century tradition of understanding form and drawing. So what drawing is, fine art drawing, as opposed to photographic copying illustration, is that it is more to do with the translation of the three dimensions, the form. And then you arrange it on the two-dimensional surface, and it's got all those other connotations to it, of composition and all of that. But the main basis of it is drawing. And that's why Degas said something like, art is something like 90% drawing, 10% painting. Now, if we look at David Hockney's claims have been completely debunked by David G. Stork. And Hockney went on TV and claimed that the chandelier on Van Eyck's painting could only have been done through a camera obscura, and that it was in perfect perspective. Well, when it was analysed, it was shown that, no, it was actually drawn from lots of different perspectives. It was done by a human eye. And you find this in loads of old masters' paintings, that they actually play around with its perspective. This perspective is not perfect. And the camera obscura was a completely impractical tool. Technology makes bad paintings. And Hockney even says this in his book. Now, if you had optical devices, but painters have always had optical devices like a mirror. The eye is a lens. And that's another important part of European painting, is that it is a kind of inquiry into the natural world. That's another important part of European painting tradition. But they weren't copying, and the camera obscura at that time was absolutely useless. And the image was upside down. You had to wait for the sun. They had no electric lights. The lenses weren't as good. The mirrors weren't as good. And it was completely impractical. You could only do an outline sketch in the dark. You couldn't paint from a camera obscura. It was completely impractical. We have thousands and thousands of paintings where the painters actually show you their studios and there's no camera obscura. In that time, it was like a curiosity. Of course, artists are always interested in lenses and curiosities like a mirror, but they didn't copy direct from it. And this is why technology and modernity makes such terrible paintings that it cannot be read, like a Jeff Hein painting, or a César Santos. They're flat copies, photographic copies. They do not comprehend the form as they are painting it, because that is a much more difficult task. And I call these people art shills, illustration art shills. People like César Santos, Jeff Hein, Nicolas Uribe, and they are there to promote technology in painting. And it's all about this transhumanism and AI and making the human being seem useless. And it was written in an essay by Ortega y Gasset in the 1930s, The Dehumanization of Art. And modern art was the first part of this, which destroyed the education system. And like in the Royal Academy, they threw out all the Greek statues. And what now is left is photography and AI replacing the human ability to draw. And people think it's fine art painting. It's not. It's illustration copying. It's got nothing to do with fine art figurative painting. And even in prestigious places like the Slade, which had an incredible tradition of drawing, now they just teach people how to paint from photos. It is not fine art. It is a dumbing down, and it is an agenda to get people to believe everything was done with technology. It is a fraud. Please use your brain. The human being is capable of incredible things. Thank you.